down 56% in 2022. Is plug-in power stock a buy for 2023? I'm going to answer that question in this video looking at several critical metrics, so let's get right into it. First, let's look at Plug-in Power's revenue growth over the last few years, and you could see very good revenue growth for this hydrogen solutions specialist. And earlier in January, it announced a deal with TC Energy where it's going to provide its solutions to that company. However, details of that deal were not disclosed. You can expect it to be a lot of revenue, a lot of sales, but the unfortunate thing for plug-in power is it's having difficulty generating profitability. And so that's a concern, even with that deal that was announced earlier in January that caused the stock price to jump. If you look here at Plug-in Power's operating income going back over the last several years, you see a steady downward trend. So as it's making more sales, it's losing more money on the bottom line. That tells me that it's not charging its customers enough to earn enough on those sales to at least break even, and that's why I said earlier that the deal with TC Energy may be one where it lowered the price enough to make it an attractive sale, but perhaps not enough to be profitable on the bottom line or to be contribution profit positive for the company. The next thing to look at is Plug-in Power's cash flow from operations. Similar to its operating income, you see a downward trend with some spikes in between, but the company lost 116.9 million in cash from operations in its most recent quarter. And if you look at its revenue, it only brought in 188 million. So it brought in 188 million dollars of sales and it lost 117 million in cash. So it's losing just about as much as it's bringing in terms of sales. That tells me just some rough back of the envelope math that it needs to raise its prices by nearly double just to make sure that it's, just to break even on the bottom line. And if it does raise its prices by that much, it'll be difficult to secure the sales. So it's in kind of this tough position where it wants to grow fast. It wants customers to develop this innovative technology, but it also needs to pay attention to its bottom line, especially now that interest rates have gone up and investors are less tolerant of companies that are losing so much money on the bottom line. This has come to the forefront in 2022 and that's going to continue in 2023. So this may be something that Plug-in Power needs to really focus a little bit more on than at any time in its history, because this is really the first time in more than a decade when interest rates have risen over the minimal amounts that they've been over the last decade. So finally, let's look at Plug-in Power's valuation. Because it's losing money on the bottom line, I couldn't use the price to earnings ratio. Because it's not generating consistent cash flow from operations, I couldn't use the price to free cash flow. So I chose to use the price to sales ratio. And looking at this metric in the last year, the company is selling at a price to sales of 13.75, near the lowest it's been. You could see that spike in January. This was the result of that deal I mentioned earlier. When Plug-in Power announced that deal with TC Energy, the stock price shot up. The stock is down today, maybe 6 or 7% before I started this recording, but it's still up significantly in 2023, and that's caused its price to sales ratio to go up from the bottom it was at earlier before the end of the year. So to answer the question, is Plug-in Power stock a buy for 2023? I'm going to say no. The company's still losing a lot of money on the bottom line, still bleeding a lot of cash from operations, and the valuation is not especially cheap when you're looking at a price to sales of 13.75. Many companies are trading at a price to earnings of 13.75. So the incredible growth prospects the company does have, admittedly, it's arguably priced into the stock at this valuation. So that's all I've got for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.